Kathy,
Yeah.
are these meetings going to be open to the public?
Yes.
Morning, George.
You're live right now, Kevin. Right now, we're live on YouTube. Hey, Kev.
Yeah.
Right now, we're live on YouTube. We're trying something different today, so this is a trial run.
Okay, so they're
It's
just
open.
going to be just to monitor, right?
Yes,
Okay.
and I'm standing if you can't tell.
He always teases me about if I'm standing or not. Would you, Sheldon?
Welcome, welcome.
Yeah, I know. I don't love her though. I miss her meeting.
YouTube channel. Morning, Chairman. I was taking care of the business here before. Morning, Bruce. Morning, Ferd.
Morning. Morning, Ferd.
Morning. Morning, Sheldon. Morning, Shane.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, Bruce, did you get the agenda then? Were you able to get it up?
I'm still looking for it.
Okay, I can get a hold of Drew really quick and she can send you the packet again.
We only get 5,000 emails a day.
Hey, Drew, can you pass it to Bruce Savage at the, oh, yeah, oh, Karina, oh, sorry, yeah, can you connect with Drew, please? Oh, shoot. Okay. Okay, I'll, can you get a hold of her for me, please, and back it up? Yeah, please. All right, thanks, Karina.
Mike, is Kathy calling in?
I don't know. I don't know. She has a meeting.
Got it. Thanks, George.
You got it? Okay, thank you. Kathy?
Kathy, are you calling in today? Are you online right now? We have some phone numbers up there. We're just wondering if Kathy's one of them.
She's on big TV.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Which? Yes, sir. They said they could hear you. Or you did back. Okay. All right. Thank you. Hey, I'm sitting here looking for you. Did you don't want to zoom on your? Okay, we'll just. George, you guys know anything like? Yeah, I did it only to, Kathy. Yeah, we should have done, she should have. Can you resend it to her now? Okay. Yeah. Hey, Drew, this is George. I'm wondering if you could resend the Zoom information to both Kathy and I. Yeah. Possible? Yeah, so they're gonna re-email it right now, so. All right, let me know if you don't get it, so I'll write back. I'll just click it. Kathy, good?
Yeah.
Kathy?
Just resend it
Your
for
meeting information on your phone. Can you send it to my Gmail or my? You were not on I wasn't. You were on the list. I
They
got.
left you off the list.
Sorry. Well, I can go there, huh? Please do. You got like, at, I'm in Chippewa tribe.org. get it, George? Okay.
That was me.
I'm muted now. There we go. I do this all the time, but it. Never ceases to amaze me.
Goodness, I was just in here.
Just waiting for Kathy, I think.
George, is your phone number too? Yeah. I suppose
Bruce
that-
said, thanks, George.
Pardon me?
Bruce said, thanks, George, you got it.
Yeah, I'll get that call in. Yeah, 301. Okay. Hold on. Okay, what is it again now? 301 715. There's about 30 numbers.
John, they're asking if there's an agenda. We can't do the Zoom and the agenda. Do you think someone could read out the agenda for those that are on Zoom? George?
Good morning, everybody. I can read off the agenda for the regular meeting of the Education and Human Services Subcommittee. We haven't called the meeting to order yet, but I do believe we have, Mr. Chairman, we have enough to a quorum. So if you want to call the meeting to order, then I can read off the agenda. We're going to do invocation first.
Mute. A roll call?
John Moore,
Here.
Shane Drew,
Here.
Steve White,
Here.
Sheldon Boyd. Here. Kathy Goodwin. Bruce Savage, I think he is calling in here. We'll confirm her attendance shortly. Bruce Savage,
Here, I can't hear much.
okay, Bruce is here via Zoom.
You gotta use your mics.
Oh, there we go. I gotta turn it on. Okay. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum. I'll briefly go over the agenda then for those who are attending here. We went through item number 1 and item 2, the invocation was part of the call to order. Item 3 is approval of the agenda. Item number 4 is approval of the minutes. Regular meeting on January 30th, 2020 was the last time the Human Services Education Subcommittee met. Item 5 is Education Division Staff Report. On there we have Billy Annette, and then we have Jane Harstead as well. Item number 6 is Human Services Staff Reports. That was be done by myself and the MIAAA programming by Erlene Buffalo, the director. And on that is item number A is the approval of the 2021 area plan. Item number 7 is CD license renewals. These are all for the Mille Lacs Band programs, the Ashmul, East Lake, Mille Lacs Band Halfway House Residential Alcohol Drug Treatment Program, the Mille Lacs Band Outpatient, the Mille Lacs Band Outpatient Alcohol Drug Treatment Program, and the Mille Lacs Band Outpatient Treatment Program Division or District Pre-Alcohol Drug Program. And item number 8 is distribution of N95 masks. I had a conversation on Friday with a representative of 3M. They asked me if I could add this onto the agenda, and I explained that I could put it on as informational. We talked at great length about the cost if the tribes were to order, and I said I will bring this up, and then I will refer anybody who is interested to them. And then the last item here is item 9, and it's just a COVID-19 related discussion with the staff that I have. Just a brief discussion about what has transpired as a result of this pandemic. And item number 10 is the favorite item, it's the adjournment of the meeting. So any questions about that?
Additions to the agenda? If not, could I get a motion to approve the agenda?
A motion to approve.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Silent.
Everybody's had a chance to read the minutes. Could I get an approval, motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of January 20th?
Who approved the agenda? Steve and Shane seconded.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I have some questions.
Sure.
On page 2, down towards the bottom, when we were talking about the, when the person or grandparent has no authority over a child, and then it talks about George Bogwai. This is the scenario for myself. Did we ever present this to legal for clarification or further input?
Representative Drift, question was if we ever presented this to legal. The reason why I'm repeating is so that Drew can, when she's taking notes at back at the office, she'll make sure she has the right wording. That was never presented to our legal from the MCT. What we're finding out, though, Representative Drift, is that each band kind of does things a little different. There's been some inconsistencies on how this applies. And so I would suggest individual bands, you know, work with their legal and get an interpretation on this, because then each county has a different approach to things, even though they're trying to unify how they do things, even across the country. But the amount of ICWA inquiries that I do receive, each one of them are changing now because there's some laws that have just been passed that are requiring them to, you know, to make a phone call, to contact, and then with COVID, things just have changed quite a bit too. So yeah, that's what I would suggest we do is individually as bands. A while back, I think it was Secretary Treasurer Roy had talked about convening a tribal ICWA, MCT ICWA meeting and having a discussion about how we could apply consistencies across the board so that we're united in how we approach situations like this, right? Again, it's difficult. I hope I've answered your question, Shane, but we haven't brought it to our legal at the MCT, Phil.
Thank you for that. My next question is on page 4, and where Mary Otto comment the liaison does have a supervisor has direct contact with the liaison. Did we ever find out that the liaison can have direct contact with the which was the commissioner, if I can remember that correctly?
Representative Drift asked if the liaison does have direct contact with the commissioner. I think with that day, Mary had explained to us that she does have direct contact. She works directly with the commissioner on behalf of her, who she represents. I'm not sure who it is that she is a liaison for. I think it's the transportation or Commerce. Okay, that's right, Commerce, Department of Commerce. And I think she explained that she has a direct link to that. So that I think is answers that question. But the others I think also do. My feeling is that that's the case. I think if I recall her comments was that all those liaisons that are at that level that she's at all have that ability to communicate directly.
I think that would be a good idea to get something from all the tribal liaisons regarding that have direct contact with the commissioner or not. And then if they don't, then we need to get that addressed so that it's basically not circumventing or stopping them from having direct access.
I think that's a great idea, and that's one of those comments I made at the meeting in White Earth at the Shooting Star was that I think there in our case where we have a liaison position that represents the Minnesota Board of Aging, but reports to the board and to the board staff. I think there's some questions about how well we feel represented by that and whether or not there's enough done on our part where somebody is working on our, on our behalf too, as well as the state. Because you know, I'll just be honest with you. I haven't seen it yet. Being a tribal leader in the past, I understand how the functions should work. I know that it should not tell the tribes how to do things and how to manage their programming. And that's my biggest concern. So anyway, I'll drop that back and let it go. And she.
Any more questions on the minutes? If not, is there a motion? Approve the minutes. Moved by Shane. Second. By Steve. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, silent, motion passes.
True that the motion was made by Shane and the second by Steve on that approval of the meeting minutes.
Okay, can we move on to the education report, division report? Staff. Is there, should we just, are we going to skip the education?
Is Billy on? Billy is probably on. I'm. You.
Really?
Billy? We unmuted you here, but we can't, are you unmuted on your computer? Okay, she's working on it right now. This is Kathy Chavers. I'm the, of course, everybody knows I'm the president of the MCT. This is our first time allowing or doing this type of a Zoom meeting, first of all, with people in attendance and people at home, and then also with the public involved. So we're going to run into some glitches, some things that there's a question about why we can't have the financial report up. There's questions on why they can't have the questions put up. We're limited with technology or technological capabilities. We see Nancy's questions, Nokomis questions about the financial report. This is our first trial run having the public be involved, so please bear with us. We're learning. And there's a question about why the agenda is not posted. So we know there's things that we can improve on, so please bear with us. This is our first run, and hopefully we can get things resolved as the day moves on. So we do have, the meeting is being recorded. For everybody's knowledge, we are recording it. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We're just waiting for Billy to get on speaker for her to do her education report, but we please bear with us.
Hi, can you, Billy, connected, please?
Anine, can anybody hear us?
Yes.
Okay, Billy, go ahead. Make which? Bonjour, this is Billy. Would you like me to start my report? Hello?
George is muted.
You can start my report. I couldn't hear him say yeah. Yeah, I seen George walk out, so I don't still they've taking a short break or what's going on? This is Billy, did you want me to start my report? I can't hear you. If you
Yes.
want me.
Yes.
Okay. All right, miigwech. Okay, my report is going to be very brief, unless you have any questions, and hopefully I can hear you to answer those questions. I've got all of the TEC meetings that are on there, so you can take a look at that. But two things I want to add that wasn't in my report that's amid all this COVID stuff, there are two real nice things that happened. The St. Paul JOM program, they have the parent committee put together and hired, and they've got beginning online language classes for both Ojibwe and Dakota. And the report that I've gotten back on that is that they're well attended and they're real happy with how those are going. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that Anoka had this fabulous online recognition ceremony for their seniors. And it was about a 45-minute link that they sent me, and it was really, really well put together. Their Indian advisors for the Indian students gave words of encouragement and congratulations, and they had James Bukovic was their keynote speaker. It was really well put together. The other thing that I just wanted to point out is that at one point there was a question that went out to TEC members asking for 3 scenarios about moving forward, going back to school. And what I had done was, in the 3 scenarios, was to go back fully with safety measures in place. Another one was to do like a hybrid, and the other one was to not, and to be strictly online. And so what I did at that point was, as soon as I received that, I sent an email out to parent committee members and some of the contact people I have at the schools that I work with for the JOM program, and put those forward and asked them for their input on that. And on pages 24 through 26 were some of the ones that I received. I didn't get as many as I would have liked to, but it was a real fast turnaround, so I was happy with those that I got. So it just kind of gives you a flavor how some of them feel about that. Other than that, the last thing I'll bring up is that the Minnesota Indian Education Association conference right now, at least, is looking forward to holding it at the host. Shakopee at Mystic Lake is hosting it this year, unless things change. We're having a teleconference later on today to have some more ideas come about if we're going to do that, how we're going to do that, and with the distancing and the face masks and stuff. So we're going to have a conversation about that. But other than that, I'm open to any questions. Otherwise, me great to meet you.
Are there any questions for Billy? If not, is Jane available? Or?
Is Jane Harstead available?
This is Faye again. I know that Jane had planned on joining. I don't know if she's having any of the problems that I had in terms of being able to speak. I just don't know, but I know she had planned on it.
Just Jane's not on there. So could we get a motion to approve the educational report that was given?
I'll move to approve.
Moved by Bruce. Savage. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Steve White. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Silent. Motion passes.
Me great.
Human Services staff report. George.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the Education Human Services Subcommittee, and all of those who are attending via Zoom. George Gogolay Jr. here, the Human Services Director. Past quarter, all of our activity has been greatly impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. We did furlough all of our employment services staff through the month of April and partially in May. But we did keep staff on for a period of time and allowed them to handle their caseload to some extent. But we also seen a huge drop in the need because people couldn't go anywhere. A lot of our clients are required to do job search, attend school, go to work, different things like that. And so almost all of our participants were impacted by that. Those who were employed were laid off, and we're finally starting to see some of those people get back to work. And you'll see in the bigger portion of the report here that the staff has provided narratives for their areas that they serve. We did receive a lot of guidance from the Minnesota Department of Human Services regarding our participants in our program. And through this period of time, there was no sanctions on anybody for non-compliance. We didn't place anybody in the diversionary work program. We handled every situation and tried as best we can to process all referrals within a timely manner. Again, it was quite an ordeal. I have to commend my staff for their effort that they made in making sure that their clients were taken care of and services were provided. The MIAAA staff, again, has been diligent in monitoring the food security issues that the tribes have faced. There have been some additional dollars allocated for the Title III programs for the meals, and Director Buffalo will probably chat just a little bit about that thing, but the main thing for her today is getting input and getting the 2021 area plan approved. We had 56 Indian Child Welfare Act inquiries from around the country. Process also had been impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. Many of the staff that work with county agencies across the country were allowed to work from home, so there was a lot of the communication was a lot less. Usually we're averaging anywhere from 90 to 120 in a 3-month period. So this is quite a drop in that area. Employment services, prior to the declaration, the employment service staff had received guidance from the MCT director that we would no longer allow guests in the headquarters. And that was a safety precaution that still is in place today. We still are not seeing any of our participants, but we are communicating with them through phone, using fax machines, doing, with every means possible, even the overviews and the enrolling that we do, we're doing over phone. That too has been provided as guidance from the Minnesota Department of Human Services so that we don't have to have any direct contact, but we still are able to get people enrolled in our program and provide support services for them. Again, they were off. They were on furlough from April 6th to May 11th. We had an abundance of referrals in the queue when we returned, but we also had a number of cases that were closed because of the increase in income as a result of the unemployment increase. So we may or may not see some of those people return back onto our program, but that was one of those big issues. Again, attached are the employment services staff reports. There's a little bit more data, quantitative data and information that is relevant to where they are. We have offices in the Duluth area. We have office in Virginia. And we have the offices at the headquarters where we have three job counselors there, one in Virginia and two in the Duluth area. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman. Any questions? I certainly am available.
Okay, if there's no questions, George or Lee?
Good morning. Can you hear me? Is there a button there?
I said one. That one.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you had it on, it's on. Just pull it right closer to you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, pull it much closer.
good morning. I'm gonna start with the Families First Care Act dollars. We received 87,176, and that was the Families First CARES Act. We received 242,099. Finance is working on those budgets with allocations right now. I haven't received that yet from our accounting office. And Amy Drift, Provider Relationship Manager for Evidence-Based Programs, has been working on ways to offer virtual healthcare classes. That is our goal since COVID-19 has really put a stop to everything. We are working on having virtual classes later on this year for evidence-based. And Fran King, Supportive Service Coordinator, has been working on developing an updated caregiver resource list, which is something that she continues to work on all year. Most of the calls she receives are regarding legal issues, grandchildren, employment, food shelf, and caregiver services. And then I'm going to go on to the area plan, the 2021 area plan. If you remember last year, I had to ask you to make it official that you are our advisory board per the MBA. Monthly calls have continued with MBA throughout this COVID, and it's mostly discussing the area plan, the 2021 area plan. They allowed us to keep our goals the same as last year. So we were able to just, this is the template they sent us this year, and it's going to be kind of confusing for you to read because it's printed right off the computer, and the goal is a reminder that the goals that are in there are the goals that the state gave us. These aren't the goals we created ourselves. These are the goals that were given to every area agency on aging in the state of Minnesota. So the expectations are for us to follow those ones, which are really difficult. And some of these were difficult for me to answer. So when you look at this, you're going to see an example of section 2.1 might be the same as 2.3 because it both focuses on nutrition. If you want me to go through these one by one, I will, but these are, the goals. These are the same as I gave you last year. They're the same thing. They're just in a different format on this form. And it does look a little confusing on this. So if you'd like me to go over the goals, I will. Otherwise, I just wanted to maybe touch on a couple of them just so I can show you what I'm talking about when I say they're sometimes difficult. They would like me to bring the senior core programs onto our reservations. And Fran King is working on that. She met with them last year and or early this spring before all this happened. And we're planning to meet with them again to see how they could assist on the reservations. That's one of the goals that we received. I'm just going to touch on another one here. They would like us to promote health and wellness options for older adults, and we are trying to do that through evidence-based programs. Continue to advocate for mental health services for older adults. And what we can do at Minnesota Chippewa Tribe MIAAA program is develop a resource list for when we receive calls. Because most reservations have their own mental health programs, and we can assist by having a resource list. They talk about a lot of healthy aging programs and nutrition services. And how, we fund the 4 reservations. So I plan quarterly meetings with the EMP directors. So that was in the plans for this year, which of course didn't happen either because of COVID. One of the things that was brought up to me last year was MBA required that I have meetings at each site, each nutrition site. That's a long ways for Grand Portage to travel to White Earth for a 2-hour meeting. And it would mean an overnight stay for them, or vice versa, to go White Earth to Grand Portage for a 2-hour meeting. Previously, I was having my Blackberry because it's centrally located. So I checked with the EMP directors to see if it's okay if we continue to have it at Black Bear, because it's more convenient for everyone and there's not a lot of travel involved, and they agreed upon that. So I will be leaving that the same for 2021, even though MBA or DHS said that I must have the meetings at each site. I did check with the directors on this one, your EMP directors. So they want us to address disparities and reach underrepresented populations. And what Fran King was, she developed a questionnaire, and she started giving it out last year actually. And it talks about housing, health, and in one of your packets, maybe in January when we had our last meeting, I put that questionnaire in there so that you all could see what some of the things that the elders put on them. Some of us homelessness, drugs in the communities. So we did start that process. And then they would like us to have on-site assessment visits to the nutrition sites. That's required. It has never been done since I've been there. So I'm waiting for an assessment form. So this will be new for 2021. I'll be having to do site visits to the EMP sites because you receive the Title $3. Again, they're talking about modernizing the nutrition services, identify underserved communities, and seek potential resources, solutions to address nutrition needs. And again, I meet with the directors quarterly, and we talk about a lot of different things, nutrition, the meals, and that has all come to a stop. But again, that's going to be the same answer as the other one because we're talking about nutrition, and a lot of your programs already have this stuff going on. So we can assist where needed and are willing. Another thing they want us to do is participate in senior linkage strategic planning process. And we don't have senior linkage at Minnesota Chippewa Tribe, but it is available out there, and I did say we would promote it verbally and by handing out their brochures. It's a good thing to know about for our seniors. Enhance the caregiving support structure to provide family caregivers with on-demand access to computers. And the thing that we run into is a lot of our villages are remote and we can't reach them through computers, or there's no Wi-Fi, or these are some of the issues that we run into. And they want us to collaborate between senior linkage and caregiver grantees, identify staff and participate in MBA quarterly data analysis. Drew does all of our data entry for the Minnesota Chippewa Tribe, and I put this in my reports. We can assist by identifying caregivers receive phone calls, our supportive service coordinator will receive phone calls from caregivers, and she can refer them to your respective reservations. And they would like us to build formal caregiver networks. We have a contract with Northwoods Caregivers from Bemidji, and they have 2 staff who are native and are familiar with the White Earth and Leech Lake reservations, and they will be reaching out to do caregiver services. If you look through this, there's just a number of goals, and I could read through all of them if you'd like. Yeah, that's just the goal. That's what I'm doing. These are the goals. They go into 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, development, and it's printed out a little different this year than last year. And what we need to do is to have your approval. These are due August 4th to the state. And we are, okay, is that better? Okay. These are due August 4th. And we have had some technical assistance phone calls with the state. The last one was on the 7th. So that was just last week. So this may not be as organized as it should be, because I wasn't sure how to move forward without that last technical assistance call from the state. But these are the main goals. They are the same as last year's. They're printed off a little differently on this form. So I did hand you out last year's forms. And I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything here. And we are, when you do look at these goals, we're limited to what we can do because we can't do direct service. I can't go out and do direct service, and Fran is limited in what she can do with direct service. So that kind of limits us with what we can do also. They talk about homelessness. And they talk about working with the elders in their units. How can we improve it? One of the things I did with Leech Lake was I met with Leech Lake Housing Authority to see how we can assist in maybe getting some panic buttons for their elder units. And that was in the works before COVID, and will continue when everybody opens up again. And we are also planning to talk with other reservations to see how we can help there. This is also in our goals.
Director Buffalo, can you just mention?
Director Buffalo, can you mention just briefly about the preliminary budget numbers, and then help the committee members locate that in their packet, please?
The budget numbers are not included in the packet. They were supposed to be put in the preliminary budget numbers. I can email that to you for the budget. I do not work on the budget myself, but I talked with Deb, and she will begin working on this budget so that we can get these numbers to you. The preliminary numbers is all I have.
Do you have any idea what they are? Did you bring them with you?
I didn't bring them with me. One of the things I want to share with you is goal 4.3. To assist adults to age in community through strengthening home community-based services, which we don't have either. Explore options to improve current Older Americans Act core services, elderly waiver, alternative care, and essential community supports. And one of the things we asked is identify cultural ethnic communities and work with community leaders to disseminate information and build awareness of services available through Older Americans Act. This question was presented to me and we had to present to the Programs Operations Committee. And one of the board members stood up and asked me what we are doing to work with cultural communities. You know, and how would you answer that except to say, you know, we are cultural, that's what we do. You know, that was an answer because we work with Native people, we're Native people. And for them to ask me that question, you know, I felt was really, I won't say inappropriate, but I didn't really know how to answer it because we're Indian people, we work with Indian communities, that's all we do. We are cultural. So I just wanted to share that with you. You know, and I guess what I would like is, you know, because we've seen these last year and they are the same as last year's, if you could maybe look this over, if you have questions or comments, please call me. And we could have maybe a tentative approval and maybe move on from there. I think that's all I have for you today.
Which, Arlene, is there any questions for Arlene?
Yeah, this is Kevin Dupe. I just have a comment. Wouldn't it be to your benefit if you were part of building your own budget?
Yes.
Hey, George,
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
is there a way that can be done where she can be part of building her own budget?
Absolutely. We've talked about that just recently about, you know, once we go through some changes at the tribe and we can actually access that budget information in real time. So that's one of our goals is to be able to do that real soon.
Okay, in which.
Mr. Chairman, the subcommittee, this is George. The one thing that I do want to say about the budget is it's around 600,000, right? Arlene? Okay, and it's been pretty much the same throughout as long as I've been there for the last 4 years. With the increase that we received this year from the COVID monies, all the other area agencies had gotten 6-digit amounts increase. The Minnesota Chippewa tribe got a 5-digit amount of 50,000. Provided they are, I'm trying to find that number right now, Irving, do you hear it? No, it's not. Yeah, how much the other area agencies received compared to what we did. We have to have that information somewhere here.
Kathy?
Oh, yes.
What was the reason for that?
Kevin, this is Kathy.
Oh,
I sit on the Minnesota Board of Aging with Chief Executive Melanie Benjamin. And what happened is last Thursday, I believe, we had an emergency meeting of the Minnesota Board on Aging. I hate to have my back to you guys. And basically what it was the COVID funding, and what George is talking about is that $50,000 that was allocated for the Minnesota Indian Area Agency on Aging, where the Arrowhead Agency got, which services northeastern Minnesota here, they got almost $500,000. And they said they used a formula on that. And when it came to the formula, it was questioned as to, and Executive Benjamin questioned it as to why did the Minnesota Indian Area Agency on Aging only get 50,000 when the rest got 6 digits? And basically they said, well, it's a base funding that the MIAAA received. And my question to them was, well, how was that base determined? And they couldn't answer it. And so those who are involved in the past couldn't really come to an answer with how the base funding was determined. A lot of us and some of the members of the board had reservations about passing that. The MBA got 11.2 million in COVID funding, and 5 million was allocated for this portion right now, and that's the 50,000 that the MIAAA got. So we're going to be addressing that with the Minnesota Board on Aging. We received calls and comments, so we are going to be looking at that funding formula to make sure that the MIAAA is treated the same as everybody else. Other board members saw that also, and we're not in agreement, but it did pass for now, but there are other funds coming down the tube that will hopefully, how can I say that? That will hopefully bring up that funding level to where the actual need is, rather than have it being on a base funding principle, which we don't even know how they arrived at. So that's something to be worked on through the Minnesota Board on Aging. And I know that Melanie and I will be working on that with them to make sure that we're treated equally with the other agencies. One comment that they made was, well, can't the Arrow, and this is just an example, can't the Arrowhead agency, fund that, do some of the funding for the tribes? And I said, that's not happening. And Melanie said the same thing. That's not happening. The other agencies are not servicing on reservation people. And to have 4 tribes have $50,000 allocated between 4 of them is ridiculous. And so basically, we will be fighting for more funding out of that 11.2. I think it's now 6.2 because they took the 5 million out for more funding for the tribes. The other thing about that is we do want to have more tribes involved. Right now, there's only 4 tribes in the state that are involved with the Minnesota Board on Aging. And so we're going to be doing a recruiting process to get the other 7 tribes involved because this is services and monies for our elders. And we know that with all this COVID happening and, we know down the tube that it's going to be tight because there's going to be having to be ways to recoup all this money that they're sending out. And so we really feel it's beneficial for all the tribes to participate in these programs and access the funding that's available to us, the same as everybody else. So we will be trying to recruit the other 7 tribes into these programs to access that funding. So we're all represented. So that's all I have to say. Do you have any questions?
Miigwech, Kathy, I think it's paramount that if the rest of them get involved, but it will change that funding formula, which we all hate about formulas. I just got a comment to that. I'm assuming that they are taking all elders in consideration, native and non-native. So I believe they're getting funded for natives also with a separate native board on it. So I think we really need to sit at the table with this and figure this out so we get that funding that should be rightfully brought to the Indigenous people as an organization or a group.
I agree, Kevin, and MBA will be contacting the tribes regarding the tribal consultation process. And I really think the tribes, they have to meet with all 11 tribes. So I really feel the tribes should really emphasize the funding and also some of the goals in the plans. So they address some of our needs where they're more agreeable to how we deal with our elders versus how they deal with their elders.
Oh, Miigwech.
Shane had a question, I think.
Is there a time frame when this money has to be spent out?
I'm not sure about the time frame for the money right now.
Yeah. That's sometimes confusing. 2021 for the CARES Act dollars. I do know that for sure. I'm not sure what the 50,000
Yeah.
they talked about.
I'm not sure
Because
either.
there has been confusion.
Yeah,
From everywhere.
Yeah, that 50,000 we just enacted on Thursday. So I'm not sure, but we'll get some direction from them. And the area plan that Erlene is talking about has to be approved and submitted before August 4th. But that's one thing that we can, as tribes, get a copy of this area plan and see how it addresses some of our needs and how we can incorporate it to better meet the needs of our people. So that's all I have to say. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Kathy.
Which, Kathy?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
could make one comment. I passed out a tribal consultation piece to you guys, to the committee members that are here, and I apologize. I'll make sure that Bruce and Kathy get one as well. Again, okay, oh yeah, it's in the report as well. I just wanted to bring this to your attention because again, it states in there that you know there was some contact with the tribes about this, about developing it. It's a draft form right now, but I think it's so important. I can't emphasize enough how important it is for the tribes to be part of this. We are, you know, as you see, the area plan, it is a template. It's a template. It's a cookie cutter piece of paper that applies to everybody across the board. And as President Chaver stated, it is different when you're in the tribal communities and how you work with our great being, our older population. We try to apply some of those concepts, and you know, it's going to be difficult. We're not saying it's not going to work, and we're more than willing to apply what we can. But I think that consultation piece is so important because then it allows us to talk about what works in our communities. It allows us to say, hey, this is how it would work here, or how we do it. So we were not contacted about anything about any participation in the consultation process, but I do hope the tribal leaders are, and that you guys have the opportunity to weigh in on this and advocate on, you know, especially our behalf, but like I said, for all the older population who are members of our tribal nations. Miigwech, Mr. Chairman.
Which, there's no more questions for the Human Services report. Is there a motion to approve the report? Motion by Steve White,
Second.
second by Bruce. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Silent. Motion passes. We got some approval for CD licenses.
Mr. Chairman, if I could back us up one.
Sure.
We do need approval of that area plan prior to us moving on today. I don't know if you are comfortable enough. I explained to the POC chairperson a couple of weeks ago that we didn't meet in April. And there's this idea with some of them, because they don't know the tribal structure, that I can call you guys and tell you what you guys need to do, and it's like don't work that way. In fact, I had to explain to her in a real respectful way, but it got to the point where I had to let them know that, you know, we don't do it that way here. This is not how we work. I don't tell you guys what you guys need to do. We don't make you have meetings. So I think there was some understanding maybe after the fact that it's like that. But we've invited POC committee members to our meetings because we want them to engage with you as tribal leaders, so they have a first-hand knowledge and experiences of sitting at the table and talking directly to our leaders. That invitation will always go out to them, and maybe when this COVID pandemic issue is settled and it's past us, maybe we will get that chairperson or the co-chairs to come to our meeting and speak to you candidly, and you know, because I believe it's important for them to understand that leaders represent, community members and they do so, in a very respectful way, Like I said, it's difficult sometimes for me, and I'm going to say it, to try and explain to people over and over and over that we don't work that way. This is not how our structure is. We take our direction from the top downward, and then we advise, we provide information to you guys so that, so that the committees can make decisions on our behalf, on behalf of the people who they represent. So, like I said, that consultation piece, and I'm going to jump off my soapbox here right now because I think that's important to do, but we do need approval of that. Our budget information is not quite in the works yet, but it will be done before we submit it, but we need that approval today. Like I said, our budget has been right around $600,000 every year, and it's allocated mainly to provide meals to Bois Forte, Grand Portage, White Earth, and Leech Lake. As I stated before, Mille Lacs and Fond du Lac are not part of the area plan. But still, there's large numbers of older citizens that are represented here. And again, this is the meal program. This is the bulk of the services. And like Erlene stated earlier, there's dollars that are set aside for contracting services out to people too. And so those are the detailed information that we can actually provide you. So at least it gives you something to go on as you make this decision, if it's today.
I have one more comment, please. I agree that, we need to change these goals to direct them towards what we think our goals should be for our reservations, not what someone else has given us. So I appreciate Kathy stating that, and also, because it's so late in the year, and this is due August 4th, I think that if I could ask for a motion to accept the goals as they are for this year, and then on it after, because they're coming up so fast. They're due August 4th already. They changed the dates, which is fine. It works better for everyone. It's just that we haven't had our regular meetings either because of COVID, and that has just slowed everything down. So I would just like to ask maybe for a motion to accept this these goals, the area plan, and we would email the budget to you as soon as Deb completes it for your review, and that would be our area plan for 2021.
Is there a motion to accept the 2021 area plan?
It would be approval of the plan, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, the area plan, 2021 area plan. Moved by Shane.
Second.
Second by Bruce. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Silent, motion passes. Now, I'll just read these. We got some 6 licenses approvals, the Arjumark outpatient program, East Lake outpatient alcohol and drug treatment program, Mille Lacs Band Halfway Health residential alcohol and drug treatment program, Mille Lacs Band outpatient, Mille Lacs Band outpatient alcohol and drug treatment program, Mille Lacs Band outpatient treatment program, DII alcohol and drug program. 6. So we need, could I get a motion to approve all? You can approve all 6 at one time. I'll approve all 6 licenses. Motion by Sheldon. A second. Second by Shane. All in favor? Opposed? Silent. Motion passes. We got information distribution of 5M N95 masks?
Yep, Mr. Chairman, and just for the sake on the outpatient licenses, we have held off on the site visits for the reservations only because of travel restrictions and the COVID pandemic issues. We will resume those once we are free to travel, and to do what we need to do. But we did this to make sure that the tribes could continue to operate and build more licenses that their ability to build. So, everybody. So the masks, many of us know who Hank Baga is. He had sent an email to Gary about the N95 mask, and there's a gentleman by the name of Dan Miller who I spoke with, and they are offering a direct link to 3M to obtain a mask. And they are saying that there's it's right around the $1 per mask range that they would like to offer. I explained to them that I would put this out there so that the bands, the MCT bands, and work on this on their own. I think that's one of the understandings that we have come to, and some of the state people have realized that the bands exercise greater sovereignty during this pandemic period. I'm going to skip right into the last part of this, the agenda, and it's the COVID-19. The Minnesota Board on Aging, I received a call way back in April, and they were wondering how to work directly with the tribes on this issue, because the tribes are going right straight to the governor. And I explained to the executive director, that's what tribes can do. That's what the bands do. They exercise their government-to-government relationship, and they go right straight to the top. They don't mess around with the middle, because there's no need to. Although that I think the director was appointed as contact person, we were able to provide them with some guidance. And again, it's an education process. It takes something like this for them to see sometimes that they're going to go around you because they don't want to have to deal with a middleman. They want answers right away. That's what tribal leadership does. They have that ability. That's what sovereignty is all about, is being able to connect with the people. Instead of somebody down low I shouldn't say down low, but somebody who doesn't have the answers, somebody who can't answer those questions. Just being familiar with it in the past and knowing how things work, they got a great education about during the COVID crisis about how tribes actually will work directly with governments and how it should be all the time. So other than that, we are still operating in that same mode. We're not seeing people. Our offices are still closed to visitors, and so we continue to do our diligence. She was waving at me. Stop. So we're going to continue doing that until we are, given other direction. And we just want to thank the tribal leaders, the Education and Human Services Subcommittee. Thank you for working with us during the time. Thank you for your understanding, and certainly realize that we all have our own things to be, watchful of. We all come from different tribes, the different bands, and we represent many people. So we all have our concern there. So I just want to say thank for the opportunity to be here today, and thanks to the committee members for being in attendance, either Zoom or
There's nothing else. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Steve White,
Second.
second by Bruce. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Did Kathy Goodwin ever get on?
Oh, she never got